Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a really profound exploration of what it actually means to provide for the people we love. You know, we usually think about care and provision in these super black and white terms, but as we'll see when we look at both ancient wisdom and some incredibly powerful modern experiences, there was a much richer, multi-layered approach to how we actually guide and protect our families, and our communities for that matter.
Which brings us to the ultimate question, doesn't it? If you just provide food and shelter, is that actually enough? We really have to ask ourselves if simply meeting those basic physical needs truly fulfills the deep responsibilities we have toward our families. I mean, in today's crazy, fast-paced world, it is so easy to mistake paying the bills for successfully running a household. But true provision, it goes way, way deeper than just checking off the boxes of basic survival.
So here's our roadmap for today to connect all these dots. First, we're redefining what providing means. Then we'll look at spiritual leadership at home, caring for the vulnerable, navigating the prodigal child, and finally, the incredible power of surrender.
Let's jump right into Section 1, redefining what providing means beyond the paycheck.
Now, this first concept is a massive paradigm shift in how we think about being a provider. Take a look at this striking ancient verse from a mentorship letter to a young leader named Timothy. It sparks this really vital conversation about the actual day-to-day requirements of provision. And man, it uses some incredibly strong language. To neglect providing for your own household is literally framed as a fundamental failure of faith itself. But what kind of provision is this text actually talking about?
Well, we have to redefine that word provide to encompass the full emotional and spiritual weight of leadership. We have to realize it's far bigger than just a paycheck. Providing is an active duty. It means supplying not just financial stability, but being actively present. It means offering moral guidance and intentionally modeling your core values. Because think about it, your kids and your family members aren't just absorbing the food you put on the table. They're absorbing your character, your daily habits, and your faith.
And this perfectly illustrates the crazy tension between just putting a roof over someone's head versus genuinely being present to model character for them. Sure, financial provision hits that basic hierarchy of needs, but spiritual provision, that builds the very foundation of a person's life. We can't just drop our families off at an institution once a week and think, yep, that's enough. We have to actually show them through our own actions how we navigate the world, how we pray, and how we handle adversity when things get tough.
Moving on to Section 2, Spiritual Leadership at Home, which is really our first ministry.
What's totally fascinating here is how the home is framed as the ultimate proving ground for our deepest beliefs. Let's be honest, it is so easy to look good in public. It's easy to volunteer or speak eloquently in front of your peers. But true leadership, that is tested entirely behind closed doors, where our family is watching our daily conduct. If how you act at home contradicts what your mouth says you believe in public, the message is just completely lost.
Spiritual leadership at home requires tangible, daily actions. It's proving that our conduct matches our words. Leading by example means realizing that children watch what you do way more than they listen to what you say. It means pulling your spouse closer, communicating deeply, and staying unified in your decisions. It means handling those messy, everyday family dynamics with patience and being truly emotionally available, not just financially there. And hey, quick side note, this is absolutely not about being perfect. None of us are. But even when we mess up, our continued effort to lead with integrity leaves a lasting deposit in our families' lives.
That brings us to Section 3, caring for the vulnerable and expanding the circle.
So true provision doesn't just stop at your front door, right? It ripples outward into the wider community. By actively serving folks facing deep vulnerability like widows, aging parents, or the unhoused, we expose our families to the beautiful, necessary discomfort of true compassion. Imagine taking your family to serve hot meals at a shelter early on a holiday morning. They're going to see and smell things that make them uncomfortable. They'll interact with people facing severe mental illness or deep poverty. But you know what? That brief discomfort completely lifts the veil of entitlement. It teaches them what it actually means to serve, showing them that yes, the world is tough, but they have the real power to help. Or even just being the neighbor who helps an elderly widow on your block fix things around her house. That is putting compassion into action.
I want you to really let this quote sink in for a second. There's dignity in ordinary faithfulness. It's such a great reminder that every day, ordinary acts of service to the vulnerable are deeply meaningful. It shows our kids what inclusion truly looks like. You don't always need to pull off some grand, miraculous event. Just consistently showing up in your community, being faithful in those quiet, ordinary things is incredibly powerful.
Now for Section 4, navigating the prodigal child and making the hard choices.
Because the hard truth is, sometimes, despite our absolute best efforts, the people we care for choose a destructive path. Caregivers face this agonizing tension between keeping the door of love forever open and flat out refusing to fund or support a harmful lifestyle. When a family member strays into addiction or toxic behavior, you are faced with a brutal choice. Do you keep providing, knowing it might literally enable their destruction, or do you pull back? This captures that intense tightrope walk between unconditional love and the absolute necessity of not enabling bad behavior.
The universal archetype of the prodigal son perfectly captures this dynamic. It shows a father who lets his son make his own mistakes and hit rock bottom without bailing him out. In the story, the son asks for his inheritance and just takes off. And notice, the father doesn't chase him down with more cash to keep him comfortable while he's out making terrible choices. He actually allows his son to exercise his free will and face the severe consequences of his own actions.
But through all of that, we have to remember this foundational truth. Love is not the punishment. Setting firm boundaries doesn't mean you're withdrawing your love. It means you're making difficult, intellect-driven decisions rather than purely emotional ones. There's a brilliant rule of thumb for these situations. I before E. Intellect before emotion. It is absolutely heartbreaking to watch someone you love struggle, but you have to establish that while your home and your heart are always a safe place for them when they are ready to turn their life around, you are not going to finance or support their destructive lifestyle. You maintain order in your home, and you wait.
Which leads us to our final point, Section 5, the power of surrender and letting go.
This is a common and honestly super powerful realization shared by many. You simply do not have the power to force a change in another person's heart. You are not in charge of redeeming them. We so often carry these massive amounts of confusion, anxiety, and guilt when our loved ones stray. We think, if I just try harder, I can fix them. But true peace? That only comes when we acknowledge that we do not have the power to heal their deepest wounds. That is just beyond human capability.
So here is a step-by-step approach drawn from a shared meditation of trust that shifts that heavy burden from anxious fixing to peaceful surrender. This is your action plan for when you feel totally overwhelmed by a situation you can't control. Number 1, love them unconditionally. Number 2, forgive them completely. Number 3, pray for them continuously. And number 4, turn them over to a higher power. You do your part as a loving guide, and then you step back. You trust that you have done exactly what you were called to do.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought to consider about the concentric circles of care in your own life. Are you faithfully caring for what has already been entrusted to you? You know, before we go asking for a bigger platform or more success or greater influence, we really have to look at our immediate circles. Are we providing not just financially, but spiritually and emotionally? Are we serving the vulnerable? And are we practicing the wisdom to know when to hold on and when to surrender? Thank you so much for exploring these powerful questions with me today. Keep seeking clarity, and I'll see you in the next explainer.